You're not gonna do anything, are you?
I wouldn't worry about it, Mr. McGill. Please feel better.
I'm sorry. Just forget.
Hey guys, Kiwi here. In this video, I'll be breaking down Jimmy's opinions of his brother Chuck from Better Call Saul as we analyze his future intentions along with explaining his motives. With that being said, warning of spoilers and let's jump right into it. Alright, so in my opinion, this is a really interesting and debatable subject to discuss, as the feud between brothers this season has been very intricate and revolutionary for their family. If you're watching this video, I assume you're all caught up with the show, which means you're probably aware of the fact that Chuck lost the court case against Jimmy in episode 305, completely humiliating him in court, along with outing him for his condition. Jimmy never originally wanted to destroy Chuck, but Chuck had him backed in a corner, threatening to take Jimmy's law license away, and Jimmy had no choice at this point, as he's honestly sick and tired of his brother hating him. Even after Chuck continued to screw him over and betray him throughout the first 2 seasons, Jimmy still came through for him. No matter how much abuse and hatred Chuck threw at him, Jimmy still always defended Chuck and helped him in his time of need. It seems that Chuck taking Jimmy to court was the final straw for Jimmy, as he tells Rebecca in 306 that Chuck isn't his brother anymore. Jimmy is done with Chuck and probably considers him a disappointment of a brother. Although Jimmy moved to Albuquerque for Chuck, became a lawyer to make him proud, and helped take care of him during his sickness, Chuck still has nothing more than a hatred to see Slip and Jimmy succeed, especially with a law license. Jimmy now understands how Chuck truly sees him, and it crushes him. Jimmy is a good person deep down, and he only wanted the best for his brother, his only last living blood relative. But times are changing, as Chuck has proved himself to not be worth having in Jimmy's life anymore. Jimmy gave Chuck every chance he could to change, but Chuck has pushed the line, and Jimmy is done being his brother. This brings us to the final situation we see Jimmy in during episode 307, while he's waiting at the Santa Rosa Insurance Group to try and refund his money, considering that he's suspended from the law for a year and won't need his insurance. As he asks the woman to look up his name on the computer for him, she actually looks up his brother by mistake. Thinking nothing of it, Jimmy continues to haggle his way through getting his insurance refunded, or at least put his coverage on hold. He gets no help at all from the woman he's talking to, and actually gets horrible news on top of that. He gets told that because of his suspension, once it's complete, if he wants to get insurance again, his rates will actually go up 150%. Now this is where Jimmy actually starts breaking down right there in that chair due to the pressure of everything going on the past week or so, as he starts venting to this insurance lady. He mentions his community service, how Kim is disappointed in him, all the way down to Chuck hating him. Now I'm unsure of when exactly Jimmy came up with this plan, but he actually uses this as leverage to sabotage Chuck's insurance by mentioning that Chuck had a mental breakdown in court.
He had a complete mental breakdown at the bar hearing.
Your brother, he had a breakdown in court?
It's in the transcript.
The woman writes down notes on Chuck's mental breakdown, and Jimmy continues his acting by begging her not to do anything, saying that he doesn't want to get his brother in trouble when that's exactly what he wants. We of course know this to be true by the facial expression shown on Jimmy's face as he walks out of that office. He honestly fooled me with the way that he was breaking down to that woman, and you know, this is probably the worst thing Jimmy has ever done that simply cannot be easily defended against. Jimmy already won the court case, and this was just completely unnecessary, at least in my opinion. Now, some people believe that he went there originally plotting to sabotage Chuck. A lot of people actually, and that's fine, but I don't believe that that is the case. I feel like this was a spur-of-the-moment decision, considering that he had just realized that Chuck used the same insurance company as him when the woman looked up Chuck by accident first.
Charles McGill of Hamlin McGill?
No, that's my brother. I'm Jimmy. James McGill. solo practitioner.
Now, you're definitely open to your opinions, and I'm open to read any discussion you may have on the subject. As I said, this is a very debatable topic, and I think it's really interesting to discuss, but my opinions still stand with Jimmy never intending on going to the insurance place to screw Chuck over, and that he only did it because there was nothing else that he could do. Yes, Jimmy won the court case, but he's sick and tired of his brother's bullshit. Even though Jimmy did win, he's still suspended for a year and his fees are really starting to add up. First off, Jimmy's unable to use his commercials anymore, screwing him over of about $4,000. He's grinding his ass off to pay a camera crew to help him film commercials to make up for it just to break even, but that's near impossible when he's busy doing community service all day, especially when he can't go on his phone. And then, as icing on the cake, his insurance company completely fucks him over by not offering him any alternate options or reimbursement of any kind. Jimmy tried offering every possibility he could to attempt to not waste his insurance, but gets no help at all. It is only then that Jimmy decides to throw Chuck under the bus due to being pissed off at Chuck for screwing over Jimmy's insurance in the first place by getting him suspended. That, along with every other inconvenience I just mentioned, is exactly why Jimmy threw Chuck under the bus at the insurance company, but it wasn't a pre-thought out plan. When Jimmy tried calling the insurance company to make up an appointment during his community service, it was simply for his insurance and nothing more. And hypothetically, if Jimmy went there and that woman actually did help him somehow, he probably wouldn't have thrown Chuck under the bus because he wouldn't have been as pissed off about getting screwed over. Jimmy didn't even know Chuck had insurance at the same company as him until the woman mistakenly brought up Chuck's name instead of Jimmy's on the computer. So how could Jimmy have thought of this beforehand if he didn't know Chuck even had insurance there? He could have possibly just been pretending not to know Chuck had insurance there, but I think he really didn't know. He seems surprised and saddened when the lady brings up Chuck's name, as he's probably annoyed of the idea of him continuing to walk in Chuck's shadow, along with depressed that he can't go anywhere without thinking of Chuck or having him mentioned. He reacts as if he didn't expect to hear his brother's name, and he doesn't think much of it until the lady tells him that she can't help him whatsoever. So with all that being said, where does Jimmy go on from here moving forward? Does Jimmy truly hate Chuck? Some people believe that Jimmy truly does hate Chuck now, and I've seen predictions of Jimmy going down this destructive path, trying to harm Chuck and ruin him, but I really hope that that isn't the case. In the end of 307, Jimmy pretty much stooped to Chuck's level, which is something that he's never really done before. Chuck has really brought Jimmy down to the same level as him, and I'm scared that it will continue. Maybe you guys are right, maybe Jimmy will go down this destructive path until there is no more Chuck left to destroy, but I'd hate to see Jimmy become no better than his brother. What made Chuck's hatred of Jimmy so tragic was the fact that Jimmy kept trying to love him no matter how much Chuck hindered and hated Jimmy. The last thing that Jimmy should want is to create more reasons for his brother to hate him, and that's exactly what he's doing. I'm unsure if Chuck was ever really willing to give up his vendetta against Jimmy, but he told Howard that he'd look towards his future instead of focusing on his brother in episode 306, when Howard paid him a visit with some very old alcohol. And on top of that, he actually went and called Dr. Cruz on a payphone, who was the doctor from the first 2 seasons that wanted to commit Chuck and give him the mental help that he needs. It seems as though right as Chuck is starting to turn around for the better, Jimmy is going to fuck him over and bring him back down. Chuck has, at least for now, implied that he's done trying to ruin Jimmy's life. I don't know if it's true or not, and I'm skeptical when Chuck told Howard this, but Chuck said that he wants to move forward with his life, and considering his actions on calling Dr. Cruz, it seems like he does want to get treated for his condition, as it seems like he's willing to accept loss, and I really hope that he learns his lesson from this. Now, with that being said, how will Chuck feel once he starts hearing about Jimmy trying to screw him over left, right, and center? If Jimmy continues to screw over Chuck in the future like how he did with the insurance, will Chuck try and fight back, or will he give up? I see 2 options here. Either Chuck decides to continue his vendetta against Jimmy due to Jimmy's potentially destructive path against him, or Chuck could honestly just give up. Now, as much as I want to say Chuck will continue to fight against his brother, what if he doesn't this time and just submits to Jimmy's hate? I could see Jimmy trying to do so many things to ruin Chuck's life that Chuck just gets completely overwhelmed by this. If this occurs, will Jimmy overdo it? It seems as though during episodes 306 and 307, the show creators have started trying to make us almost feel bad for Chuck, considering that he's a mentally sick man who needs help. I'll go more in depth with the topic of the show creators making us feel bad for Chuck when I do my discussion video on Kim within the next few days, but for now I'll just say that it's definitely possible, although I'm unsure as to how well it'll actually work. You can feel bad for Chuck, but that won't make up for his past actions, and I don't know about you guys, but I am fully aboard the fuck Chuck bandwagon as much as everyone else. Maybe that's just where Vince Gilligan wants me, but who knows? Let me know what you guys think about all of this down in the comment section below, along with your own predictions on how you think the battle between the McGill brothers will blow up by the end of Season 3. I'd appreciate a like on the video if you've enjoyed anything I've said today, or even subscribe to the channel for more Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad content in the near future. I'm always open to your opinions, so if I've missed anything, feel free to let me know, or even just debate amongst yourselves on what exactly Jimmy will do against his brother in the near future. That's pretty much it for the video though, guys, so I thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Don't write. What are you writing? No, don't write. I didn't mean to say that. I don't want him to get in trouble with you guys because of me.
Right.
Sorry, I'm gonna go. You're not gonna do anything, are you?
I wouldn't worry about it, Mr. McGill. Please feel better.